Welcome to today's HealthLine webinar from the American Association of Kidney Patients titled Nurturing the Mind, Body, and Well-Being Connection. Firstly, I would like to extend my warmest wishes for a Happy New Year and express my gratitude for your presence here today. My name is Jerome Bailey, and I have the privilege of serving as the Director of Patient Engagement and Advocacy at AAKP. AAKP's HealthLine webinars fall under our Center for Patient Research and Education. We believe patient and care partner education is an integral part of treatment and protection of patient lives, and we work to ensure that the patient has a central role in research and guidance that are designed to determine optimal approaches and strategies for providing healthcare services, assistance programs, and access to new products and services. We built this center with the latest polling and engagement technologies to ensure that kidney patients take a central role in informing the federal, academic, and private sector research shaping the next generation of healthcare services, assistance programs, and innovative new treatments. We encourage you to respond to our flash surveys and other engagement opportunities that you receive via email as a member of AAKP. As the oldest and largest independent patient-led kidney patient organization in the U.S., AAKP is proud to host this webinar as a service to our fellow kidney patients, family members, and care partners, healthcare professionals, researchers, and policymakers. AAKP is a champion for full patient choice, the protection of the patient-doctor relationship, and the elimination of barriers for patient access to available treatment options. Today, we are starting off the new year by initiating a conversation on the importance of prioritizing self-care and overall well-being. Mind-body interventions play a crucial role in a comprehensive approach assisting in the management of kidney care. In this webinar, we will delve into the reasons why mind-body interventions are a valuable addition to any treatment plan. Our speakers will enlighten us on how nurturing both the mind and body can empower individuals to actively engage in their own healthcare. We have two great speakers today. We begin with Sarah Eve Schaefer. Ms. Schaefer has spent more than 15 years in kidney care, leading a variety of teams and projects. She most recently was the Vice President of Strategic Operations at HealthMath Solutions, after several years as an executive director for the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services kidney contract. Her focus remains on shaping the kidney care landscape to slow disease progression and better support kidney transplant and home dialysis treatment choices. Ms. Schaefer began her kidney career as a registered dietitian in acute and outpatient dialysis units and later managing outpatient dialysis facilities. And AAKP is happy to have her as a member of its board of directors. Ms. Schaefer, I will turn the presentation over to you.
Thank you, Jerome. Serving on the AAKP board of directors has been one of the distinct pleasures of my career. I'm very pleased to be here today. AAKP asked me to discuss mental health and well-being, nutrition for kidney disease, the mind-body connection, but you only have 15 minutes. So we're going to get started. Hopefully I can accomplish that today. So taking a cue from our topics today, we're going to start with just a few intentional breaths. We're going to be aware of our breath. Holding our breath is a stress response. When we breathe slowly, it lets our body know that it's safe and it can relax. So before we begin, we're just going to take a few mindful inhales and exhales. So we're going to do that now. I'm going to inhale, pause at the top, and exhale slowly. Let's do one more. Pause at the top and exhale slowly. Excellent. And remember that breath is always available for you if you need a moment. So I do like to start in the reality of where we are with our food and nutrition, right? And so the American food environment, it is tough right now. It is a pro-obesity, pro-disease environment, right? Food is expensive. There's areas of the country where there's food deserts, right? Whether it's a big city or a rural area, there's perhaps not great food choices or supermarkets that have an array of fresh foods. Even in the suburbs, right? We have to drive everywhere. Often cheap food is often unhealthy, and often healthy food is expensive, right? We have busy lives, we have work and family obligations, we have our, conditions to manage. There's a balance there of, yes, having that personal accountability, but also being aware of the environment we're in, right? Don't take the full blame and shame, perhaps, for how difficult healthy eating can feel on yourself, right? We want to anchor ourselves in the reality. And then when we layer on top of that kidney disease specifically, it can make it feel even harder. When we talk about eating for the kidney disease diet, we're really covering such a wide spectrum of people and conditions. It can be the stages of CKD, how fast it's progressing, maybe other conditions that you might have, diabetes or hypertension, for example. The kidney diet also covers those receiving dialysis treatments, those getting ready for a transplant or post-transplant. There's a lot of lab work involved. It can feel very restrictive, right? And so when we layer those two ideas on top of each other, that the food system in the US can feel challenging, and I have a health condition that's also challenging, it can just be overwhelming sometimes. What do I eat? I'm just so tired. It's a great time when you're feeling that way to go back to our opening and what we're going to speak about later about mindful breathing and just taking a breath and slowing down. So we're going to see how we can make sense of these two things with a few simple mind shift tricks. You might have feel it, but there is more of a shift happening right now toward self-care, acknowledging perhaps some of the stressors in our lives. And, with the health system, with our food system, just post-pandemic, our work, it can feel overwhelming. But it's important to remember and anchor that you deserve to be well. You deserve to feel good. And you can feel better in your body and your mind and your spirit. But you deserve that, right? Let that really soak in. Understand that it's okay to want to, and you can feel good, feel better. So let's focus today then on how nutrition can support your best life, how nutrition and the food that we eat can help you feel better in your body and your mind. Food fuels our bodies, yes, but it is also a lot more, right? It can be a chore to cook dinner. It can be a labor of love to make a meal. It can be a celebration. It can be community. It can be difficult when you're eating alone, right? It's a wide ranging and nuanced part of your life. And so when we change the way we think about it, we can change how we approach food and how we approach ourselves. It can become a reflection of our world and how we think about things. But you have that personal empowerment to take a stand and take the actions that will support you and your health right now. So the first part of this is really shifting your mindset. And I know this might not seem typical for a registered dietitian to talk about, but I think it's really important, right? Because you can take the same action. You can eat healthy and hate it and be miserable. You can eat poorly and be happy. And so much of it does balance on your mindset. And so whether we see you can see all the bad in the world and in yourself, and that can be true, or you can see the good, the wins, the progress, the successes, and that can be true, right? Anything can be used to help make you a better person and really take our situation seriously, but perhaps take ourselves a little bit lighter. Sometimes when we practice this loving acceptance of where we are and where we want to go, it lightens our whole mood. And that's a great way to approach food, right? Because again, if we think about food as, not just the fuel for our bodies, but right, it's our connection to community, to our ancestry, to other people, to the system, how you approach it can just make it feel so much easier and lighter, right? And it's important too to remember that while the kidney diet, kidney disease and its treatments can involve a lot of time and energy, and it might change your life in many ways, it does not define you, right? Your lab work, although crucial for your health, it does not define who you are, or it does not have to define your experience with food, with your body, and with others. So, how might we rethink our nutrition and how we approach food? For one moment, setting CKD aside, kidney disease aside, we spend so much of our time focused on perhaps everyone and everything else. How well do we really know ourselves? And so awareness, I would suggest, might be the very first step to changing your food and nutrition intake, right? To using nutrition to empower you as opposed to feeling like it's a burden. I would suggest taking some time to really get to know yourself. What do I like to eat? How would I like to plan my food? What is most important to me in my health? What does my healthcare team recommend? Are we in alignment? Where or where not am I on the same page perhaps as my care team? Are their goals my goals? Right? Really spend some time thinking about how you approach your food and your nutrition, and maybe even journal this or write this down somewhere. And then once you kind of flesh out, where you are, what your habits are, what your goals are, what's important to you, accept it without judgment. Okay. It's like radical acceptance. Don't shame or blame yourself, right? That negative feeling about where you are is going to translate into those food choices you make. And so if you feel bad and you shame yourself and it's, you wrap up all these negative emotions in food, even if you're eating well, all that negativity stays with it, right? And it makes it harder to stick with it long term if it feels like it's a punishment or if it feels like, you're doing it out of, a negative space. And so this is where, there's that accountability, right? We acknowledge the systemic issues. We acknowledge that food is really expensive right now and it can be really challenging. But then we also step back and say, there's a personal accountability to this that I can really feel empowered and start where I'm at. So I would suggest after you have that awareness and take some time to really get to know yourself, make a plan, right? Sit down for a few minutes, perhaps talk with a loved one or a friend. Your registered dietitian would be an awesome resource for this. And don't overwhelm yourself, but plan out some small incremental changes, right? An example might be, adding one dietary change and then perhaps adding steps to your day. Try a new routine. Make it the new way you do things. I'm going to, after I drop the kids off at school, I'm going to stretch. I'm going to make a detailed grocery list. Try some new routines until they became normal. Swap out perhaps one meal, right? Or a food item, as opposed to saying, I'm never going to eat, X, Y, or Z ever again. Start with a swap. It's a huge act of self-care and self-love to approach this plan in a mindful, caring way, right? You are starting at you. You are only compared to you. I'll give you the caveat, of course, too, that if you have a, serious, timely health condition, perhaps, high potassium, hyperkalemia, which AAKP has some great resources on. There are times when we have to take, a more urgent approach, but the majority of the time we have this, we have the space to make a plan and just make small changes. Again, you are only compared to you. And then the next step is to find support. So you're aware of what your tendencies are, you're aware of your goals and where you want to go, you've made a plan, you're going to swap out some simple steps. Next is find support, right? We are more disconnected, right? There's a pandemic of loneliness. Our social skills are maybe a little bit rusty post-pandemic. Things, we do a lot on our phones, we do less in real life, but people love to help other people. Actually, people like you more when they help you. So don't be shy or ashamed or embarrassed. Ask people around you, share where you want to go. Because when you are honest and open with your issues and show a desire for change, it shows other people that it's okay to be the same, right? Life is messy for all of us. So find that support system. And then find the fun. I'm hugely into enjoying life. That is just one of my mantras, is just to enjoy life, right? With this spirit of empowerment, it becomes almost like an experiment or a game. What happens if, right, I get those steps in? What happens if I eat less meat, and what happens if I meal prep, right? What would it be like? Just kind of imagine that and experiment, right? Take it as a game. Again, it's this lightheartedness that we can approach our nutrition that can make it feel more fulfilling and less like a burden, and really tap into the fact that we are fueling and nurturing ourselves with nutrition, and it is a mind and it is a body, right? And it can be scary to step out of that routine, but it also can be kind of exhilarating, right? And if it turns out poorly, yes, we have to manage, our potassium and our phosphorus, but in some ways, there's room there, right? There's space to take it lightly and to experiment. And if it turns out badly, if you make that dinner and oh my gosh, it was so dry, hey, it's a great laugh, right? It was a great joke. Share it with a friend, share it with that accountability partner, your support system, and just try to have fun with it. And then, of course, be kind to yourself, right? There might be days where you don't follow the plan, where it isn't a routine, right? And that's okay. Take that as an outlier. Take that as, a strike, and then move on. I heard a long time ago you should talk to yourself as kindly as you would a young child or someone else you love, right? You wouldn't berate or shame them, but you also wouldn't give up. And so, be patient, ask for help, share your feelings associated with those shortcomings, or when you have problems. I feel like a failure because I gained too much weight between treatments this week. Share those things. And you're not alone. Even if you are alone or you live alone, you can depend lovingly on yourself, right? You are in your own corner. You are being kind to yourself, regardless of, what else is going on in the system. And then stay tuned into your healthcare team, right? Be honest with them, and know too that it might not be personal, right? Perhaps your doc doesn't spend a lot of time with you. I wouldn't, don't take those things personally, right? The physicians and healthcare teams have their own challenges, right, with outcomes and their patient load or the new HR system. Don't take it personally. What I find is, find someone on your healthcare team that you really connect with and share with them, right? Find that one person to build that trust, and they can translate it and share it back to the rest of the team. And then visualize yourself succeeding. Again, it's a mindset shift here. Before and during this, stay positive. Picture yourself, do a little mental exercise. Picture yourself setting, your plate down, and you're so excited to try this new food. And maybe you're going to snap a picture of it and share it on social media and talk to other people about it. Our mind is always listening to what we're saying to ourselves. So you can say, this sucks, it's going to be awful. And that can be true. Or you can say, this might be challenging, but I'm strong and I'm resilient and I know I can do this, right? Either way, it's true. And then celebrate progress, right? Say you need to, you want to lose 20 pounds. When you lose those first 2 pounds, that's great. Dress yourself up nicely. Again, be kind to yourself. Celebrate those. Understand that every day that you get up and you strive toward better, that's a win, right? If you have good lab work, hang it on the fridge. Put a gold star on it. Again, the mindset of making it fun and positive and focusing on the wins. We all need to support ourselves and be kind to ourselves, right? At the end of the day, you are the one taking care of yourself. And so it is in your best interest to be as kind and positive as you can about these things. And then just remember that every day is a new day. Every minute is a new minute, right? You are under no obligation to do the things you did yesterday. You could start all different today, right? You could shift your mindset. You don't have to be the same person. You have a chance to always reset these things, but just keep showing up, right? It's that consistency that is going to make you feel empowered to make the changes. And then when you look back on your progress, boy, how far you've come, right? So just keep going. And then just one last moment to shamelessly plug AAKP and registered dietitians. So if you go to the AAKP site, of course, we have lots of kidney-friendly recipes. There's also information on specific other health conditions. And as I mentioned, like potassium, hyperkalemia. And then also you can link to find a registered dietitian from the AAKP site or right through eatright.org. And you can find an RED in your area who takes your insurance. There's telehealth. Again, 2 great resources to empower yourself and support these steps.
Ms. Schaefer, thank you for a great presentation and awesome tips. We have a few questions that people submitted when they registered for the webinar that I'm hoping you can address. The first question is, I run a kidney support group called SOCS, and the biggest concern for new members and especially newly diagnosed patients is food related. First, we always recommend they meet with a renal dietitian. That's good. But what other tips and resources can you give me to pass along to my group? There seems to be way too much contradictory information.
Sure. And so I think the goal here for, eating healthy with a kidney diet is to eating the least restricted diet that you can, to know what you need, and then to have that consistency. So again, I would go back to, the slide of knowing yourself. And that can be both your habits and tendencies, but also, your individual blood work, your, other health conditions. And it can seem contradictory as again, because the spectrum of nutrition across kidney disease really covers, so many, types of folks and other health conditions. And then even within it, right, we have CKD, and then there's dialysis and post-transplant. So it's excellent that you're starting with a registered dietitian. That would, of course, be my suggestion as well. There's also a lot of blogs out there and web pages that are written by kidney dietitians who have other recipes. There's Facebook groups, something though that is hosted by a registered dietitian. I would also suggest looking into food trackers or apps. USDA has Food Plate. There's also the Kidney Diet, which covers phosphorus, potassium, and protein. Pocket Dietitian, Healthy Out, Restaurant Nutrition. There's other apps to be able to track it, track your intake. And then, support one another. It's great that there's a group, but understand that the big picture might be the same, but the details might be different. So you really should get the details of what to eat and where to go from your registered dietitian. And then I think we'll talk about this a little bit later too, but it's back to basics, right? It's, less processed foods, it's less sugar, it's less salt. So maybe those are some resources that would help SOCS, which is a great name, really tap into more nutrition resources.
Thank you for that. Another question we received is, what are some tips for controlling phosphorus?
Sure. So the goal for phosphorus, right, is less than 5.5. And really the first goal I would think is just to reduce phosphorus anywhere you can. So we'll start with a little background information, right, that we know phosphorus regulation is really important. There's an interplay with some other hormones in your body, but there are long-term consequences of uncontrolled phosphorus. You should also know, right, that protein foods equal a higher phosphorus intake, just the nature of eating animal tissue, and that more phosphorus is absorbed when it's an additive. So think about like phosphoric acid or phosphates. So knowing what the goal is and kind of our baseline, I like to think about phosphorus in kind of red, yellow, and green, right? So red are the ones that you should eliminate the best you can. So that's all the phosphorus additives. So, a lot of beverages, pancake mix, baked goods have a lot of phosphorus, also hard cheeses and cured meats. So I would eliminate the ones that are really very high. And then I think in the yellow zone, I think more about some protein foods, and this might depend on your protein restriction, or if you're on dialysis or post-transplant, you need more protein. Think about, the yellow ones like turkey, shrimp, right? Those ones that have a little bit higher phosphorus. Seafoods often have more, scallops and shrimp and whatnot. And then though they're in the yellow, keep legumes and whole grain breads, right? We want that naturally occurring phosphorus. And then the green, I think about green phosphorus foods are like the fruits and vegetables and any protein-free food, because again, if it's not an additive, the phosphorus occurs naturally and we don't absorb it as much. And then I would also say you should ensure you're using your phosphate binders correctly. Some are like sponges and some are like magnets. So that depends on if you should take it, with the food or slightly after it. And then also you can boil things, right? So if you boil chicken, if you slice and boil, it reduces that phosphorus content. And then if the idea of some of these boiled foods is not as appealing, you can always like braise them or brown them after. So that would be my game plan to reduce phosphorus.
Awesome. Great tips. One last question. What way can a certified clinical hemodialysis technician transfer this information to, their renal patients?
Sure, I love this question. Um, talk, talk, talk. Talk and get to know your patients, build those relationships. A lot of times, we see that the techs are local to the center in a way that perhaps patients are local to a center. And so when you talk and just have those relationships, you can really affect change, but also share how you work on your healthy diet, your family, perhaps, your tips for reducing sodium, and just, having that interplay. But building a relationship is really effective, I think, for, a CCHT and a patient relationship when it comes to food and nutrition.
Thank you, Ms. Schaefer, for sharing your expertise on how nutrition plays a key role in your overall health. We now want to turn the presentation over to AAKP Vice President Jennifer Jones. Ms. Jones is a retired U.S. Marine veteran. Her kidney disease journey began while deployed to Afghanistan in 2011, where she served as a combat camera videographer. She was medically discharged in 2013 due to being diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease. The two-time kidney transplant recipient is passionate about kidney disease advocacy, innovation, and education. Her wish for every kidney patient is to become their own advocate, be able to properly navigate their healthcare system, co-create a plan with their healthcare team, which includes the dialysis modality they are comfortable with, a goal towards transplantation, if possible, and positive coping strategies. It's my pleasure to hand the presentation over to Ms. Jones.
Thank you, Jerome. Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. And thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. First, I would like to share a bit about my own journey, which really highlighted for me how important it is to take care of both mind and body, especially when dealing with something as complex as kidney disease. So, back in May 2020, I faced a tough time. I was in and out of hospital, battling signs of rejection from my kidney transplant and severe anemia. Despite the medical team's best efforts, it looked like I was heading back to dialysis. This period was incredibly stressful, as you can imagine. The physical discomfort, the endless medical procedures, and the isolation due to COVID-19 made it feel like I was trapped in a cycle of pain and fear. I kept my struggles mostly to myself, not wanting to burden my family and friends who were also going through tough times. The hardest part was feeling like I let down my living donor when I had to start hemodialysis again in January 2021. The combination of these physical challenges and my emotional turmoil led me to a depressive state where even my daily gratitude practice became a struggle. So, despite trying to stay active in my work and kidney advocacy, I found myself pulling away from everything else. This experience really showed me how closely our physical health is tied to our mental well being. And it was a turning point in understanding the importance of nurturing both. So thanks to my mom and the time that I served in the Marines, I learned a valuable lesson about facing challenges. While it's normal to have strong feelings and reactions, it's important to not let them overwhelm you. Part of how I've managed this is by educating myself and seeking out solutions to the challenges I face. So the mind body connection is all about how your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs can affect your overall health. It works in two ways. How you think and feel can change your body's health, and whether your body is healthy or not can also change how you think and feel. I know that positive thinking alone can reverse my kidney issues. However, maintaining a healthy mindset is a crucial element in managing the disease. I understood that my medical team's job was to keep me alive with the right treatments and modalities, but it was up to me to support this by being compliant with my treatment and taking care of both my mind and body. So, with many practices are available out there, but I want to share five that has helped me nurture my own mind body connection. These practices are not just personal to my journey with CKD, they're common tools that can help anyone facing similar life or health challenges. They were instrumental in helping me through some of my toughest times, such as when I received my second kidney transplant in 2021, gifted by my deceased donor, who decided that their last act of kindness on earth would be to donate their organs so that others could have another chance at life. I still use these as I continue to recover both mentally and physically, and I believe these practices can be beneficial for you too. So before we dive in, let's do a quick 1-minute breathing exercise together. It's only going to take 60 seconds. First, I want to have a quick disclaimer. If you have a lung condition like COPD or asthma, or if you experience pain or difficulty breathing, please speak with your healthcare provider before trying any type of breathing exercise. All right, now for this 60-second breathing exercise, you can sit, stand, or lie down, whichever feels most comfortable. You can also keep your eyes open or closed. Just do what feels best for you. Now, place one hand just below your belly button. This will help you feel your breath moving. And then put your other hand on your chest over your heart. Now, here's what we'll do. We'll take a deep breath in and count to 3 silently in your head. Then breathe out and count to 3 again. We'll keep breathing like this. Deep breath. 1, 2, 3. And then breathe out. 1, 2, 3. And we'll do this for only 1 minute. I will not count out loud. Just breathe in a way that's comfortable for you. Let's start now. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Now, I want you to check in with yourself and see how you feel. I know it's a quick exercise, but if 1 minute can help you feel at least 0.5% better, it's a win. Research has shown that deep breathing can significantly improve well-being, combat feelings of stress, and relieve anxiety. Studies have also shown that practicing deep breathing for just a few minutes a day can lower your blood pressure, like for real. A review article published on January 25th, 2023 in Frontiers in Physiology, it looked at the effects of different breathing exercises in people with high blood pressure. Of the 20 studies included in the review, 17 documented declines in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure. That's exciting. So as someone with chronic kidney disease, you know how important it is to have your blood pressure under control. Including a few minutes of deep breathing daily with your blood pressure medication and saltless food, yes, I know, will be good for both your mind and body. Since it is the new year, a common goal for many is to exercise, to move more. But for someone with CKD, that can be challenging. You may be wondering, how can I stay active and exercise when I'm just not feeling up to it? My energy levels are low, and sometimes it's tough to even get moving. We all know that physical activity is important, but it can feel like a mountain to climb on low energy days. Setting small, achievable exercise goals and focusing on activities that we actually like and is fun can help us overcome this hurdle. It's not about pushing yourself to the limit, it's about finding what works for you. Here are some tips. First, start small. Begin with manageable goals like a 10-minute walk, a couple of days per week to avoid feeling overwhelmed. Gradually increase the number of days and or lengths of your walks. Choose enjoyable activities. Select activities you enjoy, such as chair yoga or resistance band workouts, to keep motivation high. Consider enlisting a family member or a friend for companionship. Celebrate every victory. Acknowledge each achievement, no matter how small, to build confidence and a sense of progress. How you celebrate is up to you, but consider keeping a journal, tracking your efforts on a dry erase board, or downloading an app on your smart device. Listen to your body. Adjust your activities based on how you feel each day, and remember that some movement is always better than none. However, when your body says to rest, please listen and rest. Your body knows best. Consistency matters. Try to integrate these activities into your daily routine. If you need to pause due to health challenges, pick it up again when you're able, but please don't get down on yourself. We're all doing the best we can. As I have shared with you, I've had many medical challenges that completely changed not only the course of my year, but my whole life. I know many of you can relate. Facing medical procedures, especially starting dialysis, can be a source of significant anxiety. It's one of those challenges in life that often arrive unexpectedly, leaving us feeling as though things are spiraling beyond our control. This sudden shift, especially for those who have to begin dialysis abruptly, can be overwhelming. It's not just the physical aspect, it's the mental and emotional toll too. Living with chronic illness and pain can sometimes make us feel detached from our own bodies, as if we're stuck in our heads, caught in a whirlwind of worries and what ifs. This is where mindfulness can be a beacon, guiding us back to a sense of connection with ourselves. Mindfulness means being fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing, without becoming overwhelmed by our surroundings or our thoughts. One accessible mindfulness technique to help bridge this gap between feeling lost in our thoughts and being grounded in the present moment is the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding exercise. The concept of grounding was first developed by Dr. Alexander Lowen, a psychotherapist whose focus was on the body. Grounding is about feeling present and stable in the current moment, both physically and emotionally. It's like having your feet firmly planted on the ground, feeling down to earth and supported. This exercise gently brings your focus back into your immediate environment and physical senses, which is incredibly helpful in moments of high anxiety, like before a medical procedure. So, the first thing you'll do is acknowledge 5 things you see around you. Maybe it's the color of the walls, the pattern on a curtain, or a nurse's badge. Second, you'll identify 4 things you can touch. Feel the texture of your clothes, the coolness of a tabletop, or the firmness of your seat. Then you will notice 3 things you can hear. This could be the ticking of a clock, distant conversations, or the gentle whir of a fan. Then you can recognize 2 things you can smell. If you're not in a place where distinct smells are present, recall your favorite scents. And then finally, acknowledge 1 thing you can taste. It might be the lingering flavor of a meal, a sip of water, or just the freshness of your breath. By engaging with your senses in this way, you're not just reducing anxiety, you're also claiming a connection to your body in the present moment. It's a step toward feeling more centered and in control, despite the uncertainties that medical treatments can bring. For many of you living with CKD, there comes a challenging journey of coming to terms with changes in both the body and mind. It's not uncommon to feel a sense of frustration or sadness when you compare your current state to how things used to be, or to an ideal that seems unattainable due to your illness. Trust me, I definitely can relate to that. This constant self-critique can be exhausting and can lead to a harmful cycle of negative self-talk and decreased self-esteem. Moreover, this persistent negative outlook can exacerbate feelings of anxiety and depression, potentially impacting your physical health, and it may even affect your motivation and ability to adhere to important aspects of your treatment plan. When we constantly pick ourselves apart, when it feels like everyone and everything else is picking you apart, we may begin to focus only on our perceived flaws or longing for a past state. It's like looking at our reflection in a distorted mirror. Like, we only see parts of ourselves, often magnified and skewed, and this can prevent us from appreciating the full picture of who we are and what we're experiencing. Building self compassion is all about changing this narrative and how we treat ourselves in the moments of struggle. It is about acknowledging our feelings without judgment and offering ourselves the kindness and understanding we would give a good friend. Here's some techniques to help foster self compassion. Mindful acknowledgement. When you notice negative thoughts about your body or mind, pause for a moment. Acknowledge these thoughts as just that, thoughts. They are not the whole truth of who you are. Speak to yourself as a friend. Imagine what you would say to a friend in your situation. Would you be harsh and critical or understanding and kind? Try to speak to yourself with the same compassion you would offer them. Write a letter to yourself. This can be especially powerful. Write a letter from the perspective of a compassionate friend. What would they say about their struggles, your strengths, and your journey with CKD? Reading this can be a reminder of your worth and resilience. Celebrate small victories. Acknowledge and celebrate the things your body and mind can still do, no matter how small they may seem. Each step, each moment of clarity or peace is significant. And practice gratitude. Shift the focus from what is lacking to what is present. Each day, try to identify one thing about your body or mind for which you are grateful. Remember, building self compassion is a process. It's about slowly shifting the way you view and treat yourself, especially in the face of challenges brought on by CKD. You are not just your illness or its limitations. You are a whole, valuable person, deserving of kindness and understanding, especially from yourself. Living in extended isolation, particularly due to the risks associated with COVID-19, is an incredibly difficult journey. I know that firsthand. For many of you who are immunosuppressed or immunocompromised, this isn't just a temporary phase, but a prolonged reality. It's a situation that demands not only physical caution, but also immense emotional resilience. The challenge of being separated from the wider community and the regular social interactions we once took for granted is huge. It's more than just physical distance. It's the emotional and mental strain of being cut off from the vibrancy of everyday life. In these times, one of the most valuable steps you can take is to deepen and nurture your virtual connections. This includes both forging new connections in online communities and strengthening the bonds with friends and family through digital means. And also being creative in some ways that you can connect offline. Here's a guide to enhancing these connections. Reaching out to friends and family. Start by scheduling regular calls or video chats with your loved ones. When the weather is more agreeable, meet outside if possible. Nothing beats in person interactions. These can be as structured or as casual as you like: a weekly catch up, a daily good morning message, or even watching a movie together online. Then explore shared interests, engage in activities together, even from a distance. You can start a virtual book club with friends, or play online games with family, or cook the same recipe while on a video call or a phone call. Finding new communities. Look for online forums or groups that align with your hobbies or interests. This can be a space for gardening enthusiasts, book lovers, kidney disease advocates, or any other interest that captures your heart. Regular engagement, whether it's with online communities or with friends and family, make a habit of engaging regularly. Share updates, join in on discussions, and be present. And then finally, don't hesitate to express how you're feeling about your isolation. Often, friends and family can provide support, and online communities can offer understanding and empathy from those in similar situations. Remember, the physical walls that currently define your world don't have to limit your social and emotional life. By nurturing these virtual connections, you create windows into new experiences, support systems, and a sense of community that goes beyond physical proximity. Healthcare providers often focus on things like lifespan and hospitalization rates when dealing with CKD. But for most patients, the real concern is how symptoms affect daily life. Whether you're in an early or late stage of CKD, being able to engage in meaningful activities like working, studying, caring for your family, or enjoying leisure time is crucial. It's about having the autonomy, the power to make your own choices and live life on your own terms. However, living with CKD often means facing challenges that can limit this autonomy. The complexities of the medical system, insurance policies, and the lack of comprehensive federal policies can make managing your health and treatment more difficult. Navigating insurance can be daunting, and sometimes necessary treatments or medications aren't covered, which can restrict your choices and control over your health. Additionally, gaps in research, innovation, and technology in the field of CKD can further impact your autonomy. Without advancements in treatment and understanding of the disease, options for managing CKD can be limited. This not only affects physical health, but can also lead to emotional and financial strain, making it harder to participate in those life activities that are so important. Life participation, which means being able to do activities that are important and meaningful, is a key goal for people at all stages of CKD. This includes work, school, family responsibilities, and leisure activities. But when the healthcare system, insurance complexities, and lack of supportive policies interfere, it can feel like your freedom to make choices and live your life as you wish is being taken away. Becoming an advocate for CKD is a great way to get back to your sense of control and to connect your mind and body for better health. Here's how this empowering role can benefit both mental and physical well-being. Becoming a CKD advocate can help you regain a sense of control and autonomy. Engage in activities that influence policy and care decisions to regain control over your health journey. You can participate in the disruption of the status quo that undermines the underserved population. By raising your voice for better policies and care, you actively influence the factors directly impacting your life. Your efforts will have a butterfly effect, meaning you're also helping others. And what you may not realize is that you're also paving a better way for those who have yet to be diagnosed with CKD. Advocacy connects you with others facing similar challenges for emotional support and shared experiences. You may connect with someone who can act like a mentor to you, and you yourself may become someone else's mentor. Both are very gratifying experiences. So engaging in advocacy work can be an effective way to manage stress. Focusing your energy on creating positive change helps to shift your mind away from stressors, improving your mental state. Less stress can lead to better health, which is especially important for managing CKD. And you don't have to do this alone. AAKP's programs, events, and initiatives provide valuable resources for training and tools to learn how to articulate your experiences and perspectives, becoming a key player in the quest for better kidney care and health policies. We provide a community of like-minded individuals passionate about improving the quality of life for kidney patients and their families and supporting them in achieving their aspirations. So if you're not yet a member of AAKP, I extend the invitation for you to join us. It's completely free for patients and family members. And to our existing ambassadors and advocates who might have taken a step back due to the tough times and medical challenges in recent years, I warmly invite you to reconnect with us. Together, we can continue our mission to improve the quality of life for kidney patients through education, advocacy, patient engagement, and the fostering of patient communities. Your involvement is crucial, and we're here to support you every step of the way. My journey has taught me how incorporating practices that I've shared with you today nurtures our mind and body connection, and how vital they are for not just living with CKD, but truly thriving despite it. Each step we take in caring for our mind and body weaves together a stronger, more resilient version of ourselves. I would like to end with this quote by Dr. David August, a prominent oncologist and biomedical researcher. There is no question that the mind-body connection is real, even if we can't quantify it. Hope is one of the greatest weapons we have to fight this disease. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any comments or questions. Keep nurturing your mind and body, and let's continue to support each other on our paths to wellness. Take care, and thank you for your attention.
Ms. Jones, thank you very much for that very special presentation. Very much appreciated. We have a few questions that people submitted when they registered for the webinar that I'm hoping you can address. And the first question is, in your experience, is disassociation ever helpful?
That's a that's a good and interesting question, Jerome. So first, I would like to define what disassociation is for the audience. It is the experience of detaching from reality. Like you draw it within yourself, you might stop feeling feelings, you may stop feeling things. It all, depends on the person and the experience. So disassociation can occur in response to traumatic events and or in response to prolonged exposure to trauma, which can occur during our kidney journey. So I wouldn't identify it as a right or wrong. It's more like a spectrum. It seems that the majority of our treatment options come with a degree of pain on top of everything else that we're trying to navigate. I have disassociated myself when the experience became extremely overwhelming. So this disassociation can function as a coping mechanism developed by the body to manage and protect against overwhelming emotions and distress. This can be a completely natural reaction to traumatic experiences and can be helpful as a way of coping at the time. However, disassociation can become problematic when it happens often and or intensely in situations where it is unhelpful, which could cause distress and negatively impact someone's life. So some examples of this being unhelpful is not being able to concentrate on school or your work or your family members. Having difficulty learning or remembering and feeling disconnected from personal relationships with others. This is not an exhaustive list. So if something like this does occur, please talk with a mental health care professional and your healthcare provider. Please utilize these practices and others included in our mental health resources to help cope with what you are navigating.
Thank you for that response. A second question we received is, how do you factor in socioeconomic status, racism, and sexism when considering nurturing the mind, body, and spirit?
I appreciate this question because on top of navigating CKD, there are a lot of external factors that affect others that are not within their control, not within our control. I am very pleased that we are at an age where we are having these conversations and focusing on solutions. However, for those of you who know, systemic issues require systemic results. And unfortunately, in the meantime, we have to navigate our health and well being while the slow wheel of progress moves. Navigating the challenges of socioeconomic status, racism, and sexism while trying to nurture the mind body connection is a complex task, and it requires personal resilience, emotional resilience, and systemic awareness. So, I want to briefly list some very, very briefly, for the sake of time, social factors can significantly impact mental and physical health. So it's important to approach this holistically, is mind, body, emotions, and spirit. We have to focus on what is within our control. First, recognize that these social economic struggles, the racism and the sexism are real and impactful stressors. It's important to acknowledge their effects on your mental and physical health. Sometimes we have a tendency to fight these things, but we have to acknowledge that they get to us. Sometimes it really hurts. This awareness is the very first step in developing coping strategies. Then, just as I mentioned earlier, cultivate a strong support system of friends, family, or community members who understand and share your experiences with these challenges. Then I would consider counseling from a mental health care professional or spiritual advisor if things are just getting way too challenging, just overwhelming. Especially for those who specialize, especially mental health care professionals and spiritual advisors who specialize in or are sensitive to issues of racism, sexism, and socioeconomic challenges. And I can tell by the one who asked this question, continue to educate yourself about these systemic issues, particularly within the CKD community. I believe that knowledge is so important. So then you're able to advocate on behalf of others and be able to advocate for yourself. And then finally, develop personalized coping strategies to deal with experiences of discrimination or socioeconomic pressures. This might include journaling, engaging in creative activities, or participating in cultural or spiritual practices that reinforce your identity and resilience. And of course, these mindful practices that I've shared with you today. Now, of course, this certainly does not cover everything. If you would like to learn more, or if you have suggestions for how to navigate these social economic issues and racism and sexism, that maybe we could put in another webinar for another time, please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Jennifer. You are absolutely right. We love to hear from our patients and our members who have any ideas on topics that we could cover during our HealthLine webinars. Jennifer, thank you for sharing your kidney disease journey and strategies you use to cope with kidney disease. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
If anyone watching has any additional questions for our speakers or about today's webinar that we were unable to get to, please send those questions to info@aakp.org, noting the webinar title and the email subject line. I'd like to close today's webinar with a few slides on additional resources that may be of interest to you. If you are not already a member of AAKP, we encourage you to join. AAKP offers free memberships to patients and their family members, as well as living kidney donors. To become a free member, join online at aakp.org or by phone at 1-800-749-2257. To receive all the benefits of membership, please be sure to include your email address when signing up. As an AAKP member, you will be notified by email when opportunities arise where your opinions and experiences are needed to help inform innovation, advance care, and make a meaningful impact to improve lives. We encourage you to respond to our flash surveys and other engagement opportunities to help us elevate the patient voice and change the status quo for kidney disease care. You can also select to receive any of our 5 different electronic newsletters. And I encourage you to subscribe to our printed magazine, AAKP Renal Life. We also invite you to follow us on our blog and social media for all the latest news and announcements. AAKP is dedicated to helping kidney patients across the disease spectrum understand their condition and take control of their health care. We are proud to offer a variety of resources for both patients and care partners. By visiting our website at aakp.org and clicking on the AAKP Store button at the top of the homepage, you can find a variety of educational brochures and online tools to order or download, including Coping, Living, and Thriving with Kidney Disease brochure and the AAKP Nutrition Counter, a reference for the kidney patient. You can also order materials by phone. We are excited to announce the dates of our 2024 events. The AAKP Policy Roundtable will take place on February 20th. This is a hybrid event with the in-person event happening at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. The 6th Annual Global Summit on Kidney Disease Innovations in partnership with George Washington University School of Medicine and Health Sciences will take place May 2nd and 3rd. The 49th Annual National Patient Meeting will also be a hybrid event, taking place in September, the dates to be announced, and the 7th Annual Policy Summit is scheduled to happen in November and will take place in Washington, D.C. We invite you to let us know which events you are interested in participating in this year, and we'll be sure to notify you when registration is open. You can also visit our YouTube channel to watch presentations on demand from our 2023 events and programs. And again, thank you, Sarah E. Schaefer and Jennifer Jones, for participating in today's AAKP HealthLine webinar. We appreciate your time and effort in making this event meaningful and informative. Thank you all for joining us today.